La da 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 da. Hey guys, Blenderbeetle here. Welcome to another tutorial. So today we're going to be going over the geometric tutorial. We're going to go over it largely in the raster level, but we're going to visit the Toonz raster and Toonz vector for the one or two things that are special about those levels. So starting in the raster level, we have thickness. This is equivalent to size. It's just how thick the line is going to be. They can't call it size because of the size of your shape is controlled by how far you drag, and so they just changed that to thickness, or at least that's my guess. Next is hardness. That's again same as in other tools. It's just how hard or soft the edge of your line is. After hardness, you have opacity, which controls how see-through or how not see-through it is. Unlike the brush tool, there is no pressure sensitivity because you're just making a straight shape, and so there is no minimum or maximum on any of these features. Let's go ahead and erase all of this. Next, you've got the shape drop down. This is all the different shapes you can make. You can make a rectangle, and let's go ahead and turn the thickness down because that's getting a little thick. You can make a rectangle, a circle, an ellipse, which is basically a circle, but you can change the height and width to be non-uniform, a line, a polyline, which is equivalent in other programs of a Bezier curve. So you've got your Bezier curve points and everything. And you can make a funky line with that. Or you can trace things or just draw straight. An arc, which means that you click 2 points and then it's going to let you make this into a curve via just dragging and clicking. And a polygon. This, you can control the sides. You can go anywhere from 3 to 15 sides of your polygon. So 4 is just a square and kind of silly to use. 3 is how you get a triangle. You can go 5. You can go up to 8. You've got a nice stop sign there. And so on and so forth. And after the shape drop down and the polygon sides, you have the miter controls as well as the corner and the edges, how you want those rounded or flat, etc. We're not going to show those in raster or Toonz raster because there's a specific thing I want to show you about it, so we're going to go ahead and leave those for now. Moving on to the Toonz raster, we've seen thickness, we've seen hardness, we've seen the shape drop down, and it's exactly the same, as well as the polygon sides. What we have new is we have this selective and pencil mode. And if you've seen my brush tool tutorial, you've already seen selective, pencil mode, and the miter controls, and you can go ahead and skip to the Toonz vector section of this tutorial. Otherwise, selective means that draw is going to be behind anything that is already on your drawing. If I were to come over here and create a new style, and let's make this blue, it's going to be behind both of them. If I then click on the red, it's behind the blue. If you turn it off, it just draws in front of everything. Pencil mode is similar to setting your hardness to 100, but it's a little different in that I found that hardness is still a softer edge than pencil mode. It's basically no anti-aliasing. It's going to make the absolute hardest edge it can, and you will end up with this jagged, not very well blended effect. That's about it for Toonz raster. We're going to go ahead and move on to Toonz vector. We'll turn these off so we can see what we're doing here. First thing we've got is size, which is the equivalent of thickness. I'm not exactly sure why they decided to change that for the vector, but it's just same as thickness. You've got your shape controls again, and you do the exact same thing. Polygon sides also works the same way. What we have new here is this thing auto group. Auto group means that if it's enabled, any shape you make is going to be its own group. And the reason for this is simple. If you come over to your bucket tool and you fill something, it's going to fill the whole thing. But if your shape is not grouped, let's go ahead and make a couple of ungrouped shapes. And let's do some regular shapes so we have an easier time. Got all these shapes here. If you were to go and fill it in, it fills in between those two circles. It's taking the whole picture into account. This can get a little weird when you're moving things around. And you can even, if you do it wrong, add fills where you didn't want it, change things around. It's not necessarily the best way to work. So if you undo all that, if we then add auto grouped, and if you've seen my tutorial on trouble with the fill tool, you have probably already figured this part out, but it's now taking only one shape into account at a time because it's only filling within that group you just made. And so auto group is a way that you can easily fill your drawing without having to worry about everything getting all jumbled up. Autofill automatically enables auto group, and it's going to fill your shape in with whatever color you're currently on, as well as the line. If you switch that to blue, you can fill it still however you want, but when you first initially make the shape, it's going to be just a solid color. Finally, we have the corner and edge controls as well as miter. If you have seen my brush tool tutorial, or my edit tool tutorial for that matter, then you already know what this does, but it's a really nifty thing that controls your corners and your edges. So we're going to go ahead and put a rectangle on here because that's the easiest place to see these corners here. You can have flat corners, and we're just going to move this over real quick. You can have rounded corners, and you can have flats, like cut off, as if someone's chopped off the corner. The miter value controls how many, or how sharp a turn has to be before it stops being a point. So let's go ahead and do this. Finally got smart and added a delete to one of my menus. So let's go ahead and make a polyline. Polylines can be completely jagged, or they can be really rounded. It's up to you. Sorry guys, I had a bit of an issue with the program and had to restart. So if we have our corners set to this point here, we then get access to the miter number. And right now it's set to 100 because of something I was doing before I had to restart. And it's getting kind of annoying because delete is set to delete objects as well, and so it's not enjoying this. But our miter limit is set to 1, and you'll notice some of these are flat, and that's because it's too pointed with that miter limit to give that a pointed edge. It's too sharp a turn for it to figure out how that's supposed to happen. So if we start gradually raising this miter limit, notice a point just emerged. And it'll happen with all of the points eventually. Depending on how sharp your turn is, it may not give you a point. But notice it's because we're pulling it out a little bit and giving it some form of reference, it's now turning it into a point. And this happened mainly because we used the polyline, and it was everything was exact turns. There was no curve to even out the line at the edge. Other than that, we have our end caps. So what this top option does is it makes a flat and all the way at the edge of your line, like right up against it. This middle one gives you a rounded, and the bottom one gives you a flat but a little away from your line. So that's the main difference. Thank you for watching this tutorial. I hope you found it helpful. If you liked it, be sure to give me a thumbs up. If you have any tutorials you'd like to see in the future, be sure to leave your comments in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to comment and subscribe.